You can talk anytime. So some.
This is our cooking segment.
This is our cooking segment. Oh, that's really sexist. Just because they're women? Dick.
Oh, man, I didn't even. Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't even.
I like
think
sandwiches.
Me too.
Does it look like we don't like sandwiches at Bonehead?
Look at me. My God.
Oh, whatever.
Oh,
So,
please.
I want to welcome Jen, Chrissy, and Aya. Did I say all of those correctly?
Yes.
What about me, shitface?
You must have been
fine.
drinking. And if they're just now tuning in, go back and watch the first 73 episodes. Or listen on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Cashbox, and what am I missing?
YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify.
Ah, I forgot we added Spotify a few weeks ago. All right. We're doing something different. We're changing it up. I know James isn't here.
And you can find us on Spotify by looking up WTF.
That's not true. That would be Mark Warren's podcast. Dick. Anyway, we're doing something different, moving right along. We have people here who cosplay. Chad and I and James have been doing cons for several years now. We've known a lot of people, but what we haven't done on the show is brought people on who cosplay, and you all cosplay like MFers.
Well, thank you.
I met 2 out of the 3 of you at Frankfurt Con.
Yes.
We talked for a few minutes, but I felt like you were a little bit like, I don't know who this fat bearded guy is talking to me and why he's
I was just like
showing up.
really overwhelmed in general.
I can see, I understand. And we didn't talk at all because I felt like I was just weird you out. And we just met.
Hey, good first impression, right?
I know, absolutely. And they all enjoy cats, so we were good once they got here. Absolutely. Now, I have started a few questions, but the really easy one, and I know it's a generic one, is why do you cosplay? Because I think I understand, but I want you to explain it to me.
Do you guys want to go first or do you want me to?
You can go first because mine's a long explanation.
That's fine.
My name's Jen. My cosplay name is Shadowbrite Cosplay, so if you're looking for me, that's where you'll find me.
And they can find you on social media that
Yes,
way, correct?
on all social media that way. Shadowbrite.
All the social medias.
All the medias.
All the copy.
I personally cosplay for a variety of reasons, but like my top 3 are 1, I'm a super creative person. Like I started semi-cosplaying when I was like in middle school. I did Odyssey of the Mind, if you guys are familiar with that at all.
Not
it's
a clue.
Okay then. Well, it's an international academic competition.
Did you know what it was?
No, I didn't.
I bet James would have. We hate James. Go.
Where basically you get a long-term problem and then you have to solve whatever that problem is, but you also have to create a skit surrounding your solution and costume it and everything for 7 members for under $100. So that was how I started doing this, and I was so sad because in college you don't have Odyssey of the Mind anymore.
But I think this is something smart kids do.
It is. Yeah.
That's the reason you and I have no
That's
clue.
okay, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very different way of thinking about things.
They didn't have it in Shelbyville.
I laugh at fart jokes.
That makes me sad because Kentucky has one of the biggest delegations at the international competition.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Can I ask you, are you from Kentucky?
I'm not. I'm from Arizona.
Oh, that explains it.
Yeah.
I really don't have a joke about
it is
Arizona.
I was like,
pretty-
what did that even mean?
I don't know. I just
I like
wanted
cactus. That's what it is.
to say.
But I
She's a bit prickly.
just a little.
Mm.
I mean, cosplay was basically my way of still being able to do that. Like,
Okay.
I didn't realize this was a thing until my friend dragged me to a Comic-Con, and I was like, this is freaking weird. I hate it.
Which
And-
one?
Lexington.
Oh, how many years ago?
The first year.
I was there. We were there the first
The
year.
first year I went to
The one day.
Lexington Comic and Toy Convention on the first day, and I was like, these are my people. This is my thing. I'm doing it now. My other reason for cosplaying is I have a mental illness, and this is kind of a really nice way for me to like interact with people without having to have that baggage with me. I have bipolar 2 disorder, which basically means I have really, really low depression times. I have really, really high manic times. And it makes it kind of difficult for me to interact with people on a regular basis because I don't necessarily know what my reaction to things are going to be.
Gotcha.
But if I get to cosplay a character, even if they don't like me, I don't give a shit. They don't like my character, has nothing to do with me. So it kind of gives me a little bit of a distance to kind of approach things from, so I can still interact even when I'm not feeling healthy.
That makes sense because I know a lot of performers. So Chad and I have met quite a few actors, directors, writers, yada, yada, yada. But we do know a lot of actors and who can be quite shy.
Yeah.
In person.
Extremely
But
so.
put on the stage, put on whatever that character is, and it's a totally different thing.
That's exactly me. I'm an extreme introvert.
So
I
it's
don't like
wearing
leaving
different
my
faces.
house.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's nice because it also allows me to like try out different things. Like I would like to sometimes be kind of like that effervescent, like bubbly person, but that's totally not me. But I can try it for a while and then I can return it.
Why don't you be effervescent and bubbly?
That's not the whole introvert thing, and I don't have the creativity to be cosplayer.
You realize you have your own show. You've made several short films together. You just said you're not creative.
So you should really look up One Punch Man because the
I love
main
One
character.
Punch Man.
Okay, then you need to be
Yes.
Saitama.
Except for that whole fighting thing. Somebody looks
That's
at me and I
okay.
go,
You'd
eee!
be perfect.
All right.
But no, he just does that one punch.
Oh, all you gotta show up and go, okay.
One Punch Man just does the one punch?
Yeah, that's it.
You
No
should really
shit.
watch it. It's on Netflix. It's fantastic.
Okay. For you all that don't know, which would be the three of you, when it comes to our threesome group, I know nothing of comics, anime, what else?
Everything.
That's not true.
Poster design,
I'm a big
poster
film
selection,
geek. Oh, I forgot to tell you, these are all original.
reproductions.
He hurt me in my soul.
I was gonna
Everything
say,
here-
I could see that. Like,
if you
just
see
gross.
an autograph, I met that person.
Oh, he did.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway.
Hell of a forger.
It was me wearing wigs.
There you go.
Hey, fudge rounds.
You say you can't cosplay. Come on, man.
I don't know how I ended up sounding like Harvey
Yeah.
Fierstein.
I
Look
Like
it
that?
up.
I'm out.
Look it up.
Hey,
Ah!
Miss Doubtfire, he's Robin Williams' brother.
Yeah.
There you go.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so what about the other two?
For me, it was when I was a lot younger. I was like 8. My mom would hang out with the other moms in the apartment complexes, and some of the kids were like boys playing video games. Like back when I was young, girls didn't play.
When was this? Like 10 years ago?
I'm 30.
Okay, you do not look. And I'm not. Didn't mean to escalate her age, but you do not look 30. And by the way, I keep thinking my cat is behind me playing with one of his balls, and it's not. It's your ears.
Yeah, it's your ears.
It's I have looked 5 times behind you, Jen. That's what it is. Who the hell let Ash back down here? It's her ears. Anyway, let's get back to it.
So
You
I
made a
was
deal with the
stuck-
devil
No.
at the crossroads about your age.
So I ended up like watching whatever video games the boys would be playing. I was like 8, they were all like 14-ish, and that's how I got into video games, like Final Fantasy. That's what I could afford to get with like 7, 8, 9. Then I got to 10. I thought I really like their outfits. I really hate normal clothes, and I bugged my mom like, I want these outfits. Actually, when I was in, I think 5th grade, I was in elementary school. My mom got remarried for a short while, and she had enough money to commission our neighbor to make me a Sailor Moon costume.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that
That's
was
awesome.
I was technically my first cosplay. But yeah, so after the divorce, there wasn't really the money to make it, to even try to make it. Because we tried going to fabric stores on and off. It's like, that's too
Fabric's
much
expensive.
We tried in Puerto Rico. That was ridiculous. To
I can't
get
even
like,
imagine.
tiny buttons.
Did you grow up in Puerto Rico? Is that where you're from?
I grew up in Hollywood, Florida, South Florida,
Mhm.
Naples, other side of South Florida, Orange City, and then I was like a year and a half when I was in my teens in Puerto Rico. So I kind of moved around a bit. But yeah, so I didn't really get a chance to cosplay. I tried again in college. Everything was still too expensive. And then, wasn't it somebody at the grocery store that told us about KentuckyCon?
Yeah, somebody told us about that, and then we're like, oh, hey, that's 2 weeks away. Why don't we try?
We were more financially stable after college, and that's what started it.
Well, yeah.
We started trying to make our own costumes. It's funny because we had no idea that most people bought their costumes. So here we're trying to make these outfits and they look like total crap. Like, their outfits look amazing. And then I find out later, oh, they bought it. But I didn't know for like quite a few cons. I was like, oh man, my stuff's just so crap.
Aww. I think we've all felt like that though.
I feel like crap all the time.
Well, 24/7 here, but
That's
that's
pretty
beside the
much
point.
just a medical thing, though. The doctors, they're looking into it. Next.
Okay, well, to kind of piggyback onto her story.
Yeah.
Because we are married.
Well, I was going to ask where you guys met and how you ended up, but you all can tell
We'll
me
get
how
to that one.
you guys can tell me how you ended up in Kentucky in a few minutes. You go ahead.
Yeah. That's a whole
were you gonna say,
story and a
Chad?
half.
I was going to say,
Sure.
I'm more impressed with the fact that you played Final Fantasy that much. When the only video game I was actually good at was Booger Man, a pick and flick adventure.
Oh my god.
I know
love
exactly
it.
which game you're talking about. Sadly.
I still have it, and I still play it.
That's awesome.
When I need a self-esteem booster, and I know there's a game I can beat.
Right?
One of the original DuckTales, you could probably beat that.
Oh, I can. Yeah, I beat that.
Yeah.
But I was in my 20s
One
when
of
I
the original
finally
Super
beat that.
original Nintendo.
Anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. For me, well, getting into cosplay was actually a coping mechanism for me. I was just now getting into figuring out myself, transitioning,
Yeah.
and going from male to female. And so it just started on the hormones, started having to go through the whole legal paperwork of name change, gender change, all that stuff, which is a headache into itself. And I needed a coping mechanism to kind of keep my mind busy because therapy is just too damn expensive.
Yes, it is.
And so I was like, at the same time, miraculously, I don't know how it just kind of all played together. We had found out about a con coming up, Kentokyo Con, which you probably,
It was in 2016.
It was in
not that long
2016.
ago.
Yeah, it was our first. It was like, okay, we got 2 weeks until we'll try it. We'll make the costumes, and this is going to be my first time presenting out in public as female. First time ever. First
It's
con.
Awesome.
It's kind
I
of a
love
good
that.
place to test because there's cosplayers, so you can
Yeah.
see, like, walk up to a lot of vendors, make conversation, and see, you know, do you get the Mr. or Miss? Is that what you want? It's a good way to test things without getting hurt like you might in public.
Yeah, and so it was like a good, just like test run for me. Just like, okay, we're gonna try this, see how I handle it, see what's gonna happen, and it was overwhelmingly positive. And I was just like, I might be half decent at this cosplay thing. And then I just started building like crazy. And then almost 3 years later now we're still going like crazy, going to cons left and right. But it was such a huge coping mechanism for me, and it still is, because I still have my off days with transition. There's several days where I'm just like, oh God, why did I do this?
Mm-hmm.
But it's helped so much, and that's why I'm a big supporter of like that. And that's why I'm so open about it at conventions in the cosplay community. It's like,
There is a bigger LGBT crowd at cons than you would believe.
Definitely.
If you go through
Oh, yeah.
people's Instagrams,
Yeah.
they'll
Oh,
put it
yeah.
on their profiles.
And I'm very open about it, and if anybody wants to actually ask any like questions about it, because it's a difficult process. And I just go by,
The trans ambassador, the trans
transvastor, as I call it, the transvastor. Because to a lot of people around this city, I'm like one of the only ones that they know that's actually openly trans. And it's like, holy crap, I thought there'd be more people like that, but...
Well, and it's a great inspiration because people are able to see what you've been able to do. Because I
Which
know a
is
lot of people are just like, they don't know what to do.
Oh, I get my favorite thing to do at cons is the whole Professor Oak people. Are you a boy or are you a girl? I get that all the time. And I love confusing people like that because I'm just like, nobody knows.
Yeah, exactly.
Professor Oak, they lost me on.
Yeah.
Pokemon.
When you
I
go-
told you I'm a film geek.
When you start the game, this professor comes up and says, I'm Professor Oak, and one of the questions he asks you is, are you a boy or are you a girl?
And it
So
helps
you
you
can
choose
pick
your
up-
avatar.
Yeah.
Oh,
Choose your
okay.
character, either male or female.
See, he didn't know either.
No,
Yay.
I like Snorlax. That's about.
There you go. That's my
We have a lot-
spirit animal.
we have a lot of
man.
common.
Like,
What do you have in common with Snorlax?
He's a big guy who just sits
Naps.
around and naps.
all
give
the
me-
naps.
Give me Meowth any day.
I could do Snorlax.
You could totally do Snorlax. You put on some ears, you got the right build.
No lie.
Do
What
I?
about Jigglypuff?
I'm like the American Peter Jackson. All right. So how did you two meet?
Back in the day when you
Oh,
shouldn't have
God.
met on the internet, we met through
What
like
do you
chat
mean
rooms.
Oh my
You
god, I did the
should've.
same thing. That's how I met my husband. Yes.
Oh my God, that's how we met.
No, it's not.
I know.
Sure you not.
But you all were so excited. We just got flipped off on our own show.
Yeah.
What?
You said I could do
Knuckle
pretty
up.
much
I know,
anything.
knuckle up.
Okay.
Throw it up.
Yay.
Boom. All right, so you
Come
met
on,
in a
Jedi
chat.
mode. Jedi.
Yeah, pretty much. We were both, I hate to put it in such words, but we were both losers growing
Oh, I
up.
know
The,
you're a loot, yeah.
We were the this is awful. The ugly nerds. I think
Aww.
no, we were technically at the time she was like a neck beard and I was the leg beard.
Well,
if you know what that
if you wanna put
means.
it that way.
No, explain.
Yeah, define that.
It's like really unattractive nerds. She even had the trench coat, but she worked on a farm, so she kind of had to have one.
I had like the big black trench coat. I was the gothed out, wore all black chains, all that. Even wore the black lipstick.
You were
black
my
eyeliner,
peoples, man.
Black fingernail polish. I almost got kicked out of school several times because of that.
No.
Because back then I was male, and that was frowned upon, you know.
Yeah.
I had the really long hair, would put it back in like braids and stuff. I was crazy.
So
I was the broke goth kid with like the off-brand $15 baggy pants.
Hell yes.
well, how did you all end up in Lexington then?
We lived in Florida for a while. I moved to Florida to live with her and her mom, and by that time we were engaged to be married, and
The economy crashed.
this
Yeah,
is back.
I remember.
2008?
Yep.
Yeah.
2000, late 2007. It kind of hit
Yeah.
Florida
Okay.
a little early.
The economy
Yeah.
crashed. I lost my job. We lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had no other option but to move back up to Kentucky to live with my family for a bit.
Oh, so you're from Kentucky?
I'm originally from Kentucky.
Oh, okay, cool.
Unfortunately. But
Yeah.
We forgive you.
I know.
Just kidding.
That's okay. We're both from Kentucky. Keep going.
I'm from Northern.
Oh, you're from Cincinnati. I mean, I know it's Northern Kentucky, but right. Keep going.
BFE as I call it.
Yeah.
But we had to live with my family for about 2 years. During that time, we literally just scraped and saved everything we could just to get back on our own 2 feet. We literally, when we got married, we were so broke we had to borrow the money for our marriage license from my mom. That's how bottom of the barrel
Was it like
we were at.
$34?
I think so. We were that broke, but we came back. That was how.
So where'd you guys honeymoon?
Nowhere.
Nowhere.
It's a joke.
Now 10 year. Now 10
True
year.
story.
It went to the Caribbean.
Now 10-year anniversary is different.
Okay.
That was the good one.
So that's where you met. How did you end up in Lexington?
I went to a university outside of Lexington called Asbury University.
Oh.
I almost went there as well.
Oh, for real?
Mhm.
It was a very small Christian college when I went there, and I went there for a reason because, one, they had horses, which is my other kind of passion, is horseback riding, and that's actually one of the ways I kind of got involved with this. I did equine facilitated mental health, which is basically, instead of doing horseback riding as like a physical therapy, you do
Yeah.
it as a psychological therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which kind of also led into the cosplay thing. But I came here to go to college. I met my husband, and he lived here, so we live here.
Oh, okay. So you're all right. Well, I was just curious. So you just started in the last few years. I'm kind of, if somebody's starting out, what do you encourage them to do? Now, Jen, I heard you give your speech, and I heard you talk a lot about it, but I wonder for our people out there who might be interested, because I know we have one person, hey, Claire, who is a fan of the show, and I appreciate it, but who is interested in this, and she was like, oh my God, she follows Shadowbrite.
Aw,
and
thank you. I feel all special.
Well,
now.
yeah,
It's my ears.
yeah.
I seriously thought that was your hair. I did not know.
I wish it was my hair. I don't have those kind of wig skills, though.
So, if you're just starting out, what suggestions do you have?
There's 2 big suggestions I have if you want to get into cosplay. One, find yourself a community. You can find that on the internet. There's a gazillion Facebook groups for cosplayers. But one that I personally would recommend is the Ohio River Valley Cosplayers. They go by the acronym ORCS. It's you know all about this already. That's awesome.
I did research. I looked you all up, so
Well,
I
there you
memorized
go.
it all. Sorry.
We're a
much better
cosplay group that
memorizing
originally
movies,
started as the Ohio River Valley area, but now it covers like 8 states, and we've got somewhere around 3,000 members. But the nice thing is, a lot of cosplay groups are fandom dependent. Like, there's the 501st that specializes in Star Wars stuff. The Mandalorian Mercs, which specialize just in Mandalorian Star Wars stuff. The nice thing about Ohio River Valley Cosplayers is they take anybody and everybody. Do you want to cosplay a game character? We take you. Harry Potter? Yes, please. Anime? Yep. What about some pop videos from like K-pop or something like that from Korea? I mean, pretty much anybody, anything you want to do. If you want to dress up, we want you to be a part of us. And the nice thing is, if you get stuck, you have a community of about 3,000 people. All you got to do is post a picture. You're like, I'm trying to make A. This is what happened. Help. within like 15 minutes, you'll have 10 or 15 replies on how you can fix it. Or references like YouTube. I strongly suggest you YouTube. There's like a million tutorials for everything out
on
there.
YouTube.
And you
including
can figure it
Bonehead.
out.
Subscribe to Bonehead
There you
on
go.
YouTube, sorry.
Perfect. I love it.
Way to shill our product.
Absolutely. We're all up here nothing more than prostitutes. Nothing
glorified.
more, nothing less. Only difference is they're getting paid. We're doing this for free. Yeah.
Wah.
Right.
Womp.
Wait, who's getting paid?
Wait, there's
No,
money?
not you,
Not
right?
me.
No, we never get
Well,
paid.
and
In
that's
fact,
another
this
thing.
actually costs us quite a bit of, well, a
There
little
you
bit of
go.
money as
A
we
little
go.
bit of money.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I would also say. One, don't think you're going to look like some of these models who are literally models that happen to cosplay because it's now popular. And please, for the love of God, don't waste all your money on cosplay stuff, okay? And it's not a waste, but you have real life things you need to pay for.
Like
If you
bills,
are not paying rent,
gas
do not
bills,
buy your new cosplay thing.
electric.
Okay, like,
Yeah.
you know, and you don't have to spend a whole lot of money at cosplay. A lot of people just go to the dollar store. One of the cosplayers that I follow, Avant Geek, is doing a magical girl every season from the dollar store. So she's going and buying all of the seasonal crap. Her newest one is going to be an Easter themed one, which I cannot wait to see. But she's spending like $70 and making these ridiculously fantastic
Be
things.
the Easter themed one. A buddy carrying a cross.
With eggs
well,
everywhere.
With eggs
Well, I mean,
everywhere.
if it's Trigun, Dogwood.
There you go. I mean,
I'm just curious. I want to talk about famous cosplayers, and I'll give away a little bit. So if people out there who know me, who follow me a little bit, know that I do Lexington Comic-Con, Scarefest, yada, yada, yada. And I usually do the big room at Comic-Con. A lot of fun. Love the Greers. I won't say with who was on it, but there were several famous cosplayers there last year. Semi-famous. I suppose you all know them better than I do. What is your take on some of those folks? Because you said earlier they're not really cosplayers, they're models.
there's a difference between cosplay is kind of a complicated thing. There are people that make all of their own stuff. There's people that make some of their own stuff. And then there's people that buy things off the internet. And none of those things are any less valid in terms of cosplay. But in terms of
Do you truly feel that way?
Yeah.
Because I know
No,
cosplayers who do not feel that way.
No, I 100% feel that way. I personally,
See?
I know.
I'm kind of 50-50 because I focus more on the competition-wise.
Yeah, and
so
see,
my view's a little skewed on
Yeah.
That's all right.
Well, and
She's not
Start finding it
against.
out.
yeah, well, in a competition sense, in my opinion, you need to make it if you're going to compete in it. You
Okay.
need to make it. But if you just want to cosplay, which is different than competing, anything
get it.
goes, in my opinion. But in terms of like making money, you don't make money cosplaying. I don't know anybody that makes money cosplaying. Professional models that cosplay because it's popular make money, but they make money because they're models. Like, I don't know anyone. Do you know anybody that actually makes like legitimate money? Like, I barely ever make back enough to like pay for the stuff I've used to make
There's
my
money to make
cosplays.
back?
So let's talk
That's how I
about
look
some of
at
the
it.
famous ones. Anamia, say it for me.
Anemia.
Anamia. So, would you call her a model, not a cosplayer?
I would have to do some research and then I could tell you. Usually there's a lot of
Do you
people.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if you originally started as a model, you were signed to a label kind of thing. Like if you have a manager like that, in my opinion, you're a model who cosplays. You're not a cosplayer. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I
And
get
curious,
it.
what
I
about
don't think
both
it's
of
a
you?
bad thing, but it's different, and don't think that you're going to be able to do that.
I've been talking, so I'll let you just
Chrissy, what do you think? You're the quiet one.
Well, there is a way to make money off cosplay, but you're gonna have to be female. You're probably gonna have to get a boob job
That's true.
and
Yeah.
take lewd photos. The weird trend is,
Define lewd. Keep going.
Well,
That was a joke. It was a joke.
I was going to say, if you really want us to define that, we probably could.
It was a joke.
I don't think
Because
that's allowed on
is it
YouTube.
after
That's
dark
true.
now?
Everything is loud on YouTube except for the photos.
Yeah.
You can talk
Yeah,
about
there
the
you
photos.
go. You just
can
can't
describe
show
the
them.
photos. You can
It's-
say all
Yeah.
those things.
They're kind of like extremely sexy photos.
Right, I
Sometimes
understand.
they'll have like I saw one girl who just had a heart covering the crotch, and that was it. And then she had like a bikini top. She was supposed to be diva, and
But you couldn't really tell. It's like
you just saw the little diva like bunny, and
Yeah.
So they're not really making money because they're cosplaying. If they build or if they don't, they're not making money because they're cosplaying.
Yeah,
they're making money because they
look the way they look.
look like
Yeah.
new versions of the characters that people want to see.
Yeah.
Diva from Overwatch or whatever.
So I had a
I
friend,
totally agree.
she was an Instagram model. And you say that, and it's funny. Because I said to her, I don't understand why you don't cosplay. There seems like there'd be money in that for you. For her. But it was because she was a model. Do you see?
Yeah.
So it's exactly of her and I just having a friendly conversation. And you're absolutely right. She had multiple modifications. God bless her. Don't care. But she had multiple modifications. And she's a very decently successful Instagram model. And most of her money comes from product placement.
Yeah.
It's just pictures with her and those products.
Cosplayers can do that if they get big enough on Instagram and Facebook. They'll I think Jessica Nigri, I would not be surprised if she got paid, had like a wig already pre-styled wig, and she's like,
Yeah.
oh, this company gave me this wig and it's great. And, she's gonna send it out to 2 million followers I think she has now. And someone's gonna buy them, so she's getting money off that post. So they can do product placement, but it's more specifically cosplay stuff or makeup, anything related.
Huh.
Mhm. So another guy I know is Night Mage. Is that
Yeah.
do you know Night Mage? Yeah. And this is something I find interesting, and I hope he doesn't mind me talking about it. I mean, I don't know him well. We only met, and I've done his panel. This is what I find interesting, not only about cosplayers, but about people like us, too, and people that we meet through the show, that there's, back to your multiple faces, there's two separate lives.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's Shadowbrite, and then there's Jen who
Yeah.
does these things that's a hourly job, and we do this, and
Yeah.
we're professionals. So Night Mage is a cop.
Yeah.
In Ohio, Columbus. And I find that fascinating that is two totally different worlds.
See, I think it's kind of the same. Because
In
a lot
what
of
sense?
times when you're a cop, you intervene in situations where people are put at a major disadvantage. People are victimized in some way.
It's a high stress environment.
Yeah, it's a really high stress environment. And cosplay is a way to kind of give back to those victimized people, in my opinion.
I get it. I don't think we're on the same page. What I meant is, in a lot of his life, no one knows he's a cop.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's two different worlds. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying now?
Yeah.
Like, that's two different identities when we're back to what we're talking about face. For example, I work in an institution of higher learning. I was in a meeting 2 weeks ago where someone actually said this sentence, someone with a PhD, someone told them, because I don't bring it up at work. I mean, people know, right?
Yeah.
You can't, things leak out on
Yeah.
Facebook and social media. Someone brought, Joe knows somebody at Comic-Con, so somebody has a class and wanted me to help them get in contact so they could promote said class at Comic-Con. And what got me wasn't necessarily all that. It was like, how are these worlds even connecting? It's two different people. When I'm walking down the street,
Yeah.
you may not know them, but as you're walking up, you can probably say, they look familiar. Did I meet them at work or did I meet them at Comic-Con? Do you see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Do you find that fascinating how the world's, I don't know. I don't know that I would necessarily know where I'm going with this as much as I just find it interesting that we're basically wearing two separate faces. They're two completely separate different lives. They sometimes bleed on in each other. How much does that happen to you all? How much do you want to keep it separate? Because I think it's easier for me because I don't have a lot of creepers. That's probably where I'm going with this. You know what I get? And it's not too bad. I get some cubs
Okay.
looking for their bear.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Chad, you want somebody wanting you to be their otter?
No.
Oh, God.
Well, for me, because with the whole transition thing, I was kind of so used to the whole double kind of
Yeah.
trying to come to terms with everything. So for me, it was like, it's almost like second nature. I'm so used to like being like two different worlds, like you said, but also kind of the same. Because I mean, my life outside of cosplay is in my work. They know I do this stuff, but they just don't give a damn. They're just like, as long as you're not doing anything illegal.
It's a bunch of guys working outdoors.
And then you got me supervising them. So that's kind of comical. You got these like 16 big burly guys working, and they're being supervised by little me, and it's like,
how did you deal with that at first?
Okay. When I came out at my job because I had to go through the whole HR thing because at the company I work at, I'm the only trans individual.
You slipped. I remember the slip. I'll tell about the slip.
Yeah.
She accidentally slipped. Knew what her new identity was, but was hiding it for now while we were trying to figure out like the laws and where we'd be protected and all that.
Yeah, because
and she was signing her for us to go to BlizzCon 2017 the vacation request form. Signed her new name. Crossed it out.
It was that, but two. Then they also asked me why I had to go to court one day because I had to take a day off to go to court. That was to get my legal name change to what my current name is, and I had to kind of be like, I just have a legal matter. And then when I finally got it changed the next day, I had to explain to my boss. I was like, hey, give you a heads up, this is what's going on. And so they were just like, okay, we're going to have a meeting the next day. You're going to explain to your whole team the whole deal. Yeah. So I came in fully fixed up, makeup, everything. I got there before everybody else. And I brought in donuts. Pumpkin spice donuts.
You can't tell the Krispy Kreme box.
Yeah, you can't tell.
It's kind of hidden.
So I'm kind of standing there in the office, talking with the secretary because she knew about it and everything, and she was cool about it. And we were all laughing about it and stuff. And as the guys are coming in, I'll hear them going like, "Who's this new girl? Who's this new girl here? We got a new girl on the team." I turn around and I let my old voice slip and just said, "Hey, how y'all doing?" And they all just jaw dropped. Then went on to explain everything to them, like, "Hey, I'm transitioning. I'm going from male to female medically." And I was like, "Hey, I brought in donuts and all this." And they're all eating the donuts, like, "Oh, these are really good. Why are they?" I'm like, "They're pumpkin spice." And we have a speak of several of them look at me and go, "Oh."
Do you know the pumpkin spice deal?
The pumpkin spice thing is like
there's
the
like
white
a
girl.
hate. It's a white girl thing, basic white girl.
The basic white girl, the pumpkin. Yeah.
It's like
is that just what you're saying?
Yeah, the basic bitch. The basic bitch.
Right.
So they admitted they liked basic white girl food.
And these are big burly redneck guys. I supervise it, and they're just like, "Oh," so I'm just like,
that's kind of genius.
Screw it.
I agree. I agree. I think the donut thing is genius.
Genius.
Not only as a fat man, but also my wife is transitioning in a totally different way from another position where she's training.
I was like, what?
I said that to her.
I was like, hey, okay.
And she had to do her first thing the other day, and I said, "Here's a coupon for Krispy Kreme. It'll make it all better." You know what it did? She comes like, yeah, the donuts. People, you can give people horrible news.
Just give them free food.
Here's some free food.
But it was just comical.
Here's something that's terrible for you in the morning.
But it was just comical how it was screwing with their own masculinity.
Yeah.
And so it was just kind of icing on the cake and all that.
You need to do that again this year.
I know,
with all
I
the
need
new
to.
people.
Yeah, with all the new people. So.
Hey, you can give me pumpkin spice donuts any time you want.
But yeah, and so I had to. So then I began the whole process of having to explain to everybody I know, like, hey, I'm transitioning from male to female. I'm no longer this dead name. I'm now family that was, family's still not.
They still don't quite get it.
So work was easier than the family.
Oh, 100 times.
Well, you don't necesserally have anything invested in them caring or supporting you.
No,
you know what I mean?
That's one of the bravest. That is extremely brave. I was sitting here thinking how I would do it. And
I broke the ice to my family through a prank.
That's awesome.
That's just how I am as a person. I'm an asshole.
If society's
I'm
gonna
an asshole to people.
Yeah.
If society's gonna make a spectacle of being gay or trans, you may as well start it.
Live up to it, man. Like,
well,
you brought it up.
Okay, so what I did was I sent a text after went all through this, starting to get more comfortable with everything. I went and sent a text to my sister. I sent her a text of just fixed up my face, like right now. No context to it. Within less than 30 seconds, I get a text back with, "Who's this girl? Who is this?" And I said, "This is me. This is now your sister instead of your brother." She started flipping out. Then I sent her a text of the actual documentation of my legal name change.
Court order.
Court ordered name change. She calls me up.
Said that's fake.
Said that was fake. Called me up, angry at me. I mean, furious at me, saying you need to call mom and dad and explain to them why you're doing this. I called my mom up and explained to them. My mother was upset, and she's just like, then you need to speak to your father on the phone. She hands the phone over to my dad. I explain to him. I get silence for about a couple minutes. No response. I'm in tears, trying to explain all this. And finally, my dad says, I need time to think about this, and just hangs up. I give it a couple days. So I'm just thinking, okay, pretty much I'm dead to them now. I get called back a couple days later. They're like, we don't like it, but we're going to tolerate it. And I'm just like, whatever, that's whatever. I still have issues because we try to go visit my family on holidays, once or twice a year, just to try to kind of help heal the wound,
Right.
Bridge it.
But it's still, there's still a lot of animosity there.
They still use the wrong name. They're the only people that still use the wrong.
They still call me my dead name, which to trans individuals, they will know what that means. Dead name is your old name.
I picked up on it.
Yeah. It's just, like I said, there's a lot of shit to explain when it comes to this, believe me. And so they still use my old dead name. They still use my incorrect gender. They still call me he. And I'm just like, I
kept joking. I was like, they start doing that, I'm gonna change their name to the other gender. I'm gonna use the wrong pronoun until they get what she want me to do it.
I'm one of these. I try not to. I might be an asshole, but I know how to pick and choose my fights.
I'll do the fight.
Well, I don't want to get too serious, but I have one more serious question.
Okay.
And then I know you had a cosplay question, but Chrissy, so this is. I almost feel like this Dr. Phil, which would be horrible, but it's a different kind of show, right? But how do you deal with that, right? Because you guys were together before the transition, correct?
Yes. It gets weirder. Okay.
Oh, believe it, we just getting started on this roller coaster.
So, I didn't know I was gay. People assume they're like, okay, so you married a guy that became a girl. You go both ways. I'm like, no, I really did not know. Growing up, on TV, there's the whole, oh, I'm a guy, I asked out all these girls, they're not interested. It was basically, you find someone kind of nice to marry, to be with. There's no real attraction from women to men or something. I know it sounds really demented, but I didn't know. We didn't really have the internet to talk about these things till later on. And it basically ended up working out because I was like, she's going to be a she. Am I okay with this? And it took a lot of time. It took was it 2 years for both of us?
2 years, yeah.
To realize that's
you guys
the
are
direction
together,
I was
though,
going.
for these 2 years.
Yeah.
We've been married, we've been married over 11 years now. Oh my God.
Yes. We've gone to 11.
We got to 11.
So
their amps and their marriage goes to 11. Why don't you just make 10 higher?
But it goes to 11.
It goes to 11.
Don't
See? Movies, Spinal Tap, Bob Reiner. Keep
love
going.
it.
And he just said numbers, and I went like this.
Hey, don't look at it. Don't breathe on it. Don't breathe on it.
Anyway, you were going to say, so that's 2 years together of trying to figure that out, and you're staying together.
Well,
it seems like for a lot of people this would be a deal breaker.
Oh, for a lot of people it is. It's the whole make or break moment.
Because it would be like, she's like, I think I want to be a girl, and then kind of be quiet about it. And I'm thinking I'm okay with this, and then she's like, you're doing this because I want to be a girl. And then I told her, no, you're doing this because I'm gay. So it's we don't even believe each other for 2 years.
Did you know she was gay?
No.
I didn't know. Because when this is really awful, it's probably why I stuck in my head. There was does anybody remember Maury?
Yeah.
There was this really young 13-year-old girl, and there's a picture of it somewhere on Google Images, and it was she was a girl who would kiss girls. I think it was in bars. That sounds wrong because she was 13, or maybe she was 19. And it gave the impression in society, it's if you're gay, you have to follow the femme-butch dynamic. So it's okay, women who are into girly girls only exist for men to get their attention. It's not what they said, but that's what that segment on Maury. Yeah, so it's would you date This kind of mean saying it. Would you date a butch woman with short hair and all that? I'm like, no. So I can't be gay because I don't like that.
I see what you're saying.
So
Yeah.
I just hid
That's
everything to myself, and no
So she's
cute
got
girl
this.
ever hit on me. So
Right.
she was the first one.
Yeah, like I said,
How
she's
you
got
doing?
this.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. All right. Okay, I understand now. That's fascinating. Thank you all so
We are
much for
very-
coming.
It's
Thank
a
you all
very
so
weird
much.
situation.
I
Sorry.
know it's.
It's a
I
crazy
just,
story.
I really appreciate that, and I think I understand it more because it's hard. Empathy takes a certain amount of creativity. So I teach this in my communications class. That's the reason empathy's hard. Sympathy's easy. It's like, oh yeah, I feel bad for somebody. But to actually put yourself in that position requires you to use your brain, and nobody really wants to spend the time, and that takes creativity, and it's really hard for me to understand as a straight male, as a straight white male. I know that's the worst thing ever to be, but as a straight white male, it's really hard for me to understand. But I think I get it a lot more now. So thank you.
I'm not hating on any of that.
No, hate on me. I love it.
Because I used to be a straight white male.
Right. But you understand what I mean. So it's
Yeah,
really hard because I always knew this is it. So it's kind of hard, specifically when it got to that. And I was like, how do you do that? Why? And thank you. I appreciate that.
I knew something was up for years for me because I hate to say it like this. I've done drag before. I've done all that. You know, in the cosplay, like crossplay, I've done all that.
Right.
And it felt right. So, and of course, back then, before I came to terms with it, I was like, no, this can't be right. I can't be, because if I'm doing like drag and crossplay, then I had to be gay. But I don't like dudes. I only like girls.
So
Right.
you got hit by stereotypes too.
Yeah, I got hit by stereotypes too, really bad. And it was like, so I can't be, so like I just would suppress it for years, and with the overly macho, you know, like.
I could tell that was fake, but
Yeah,
I just thought
it
you were
was so
just
fake.
insecure.
Well, then.
But once again, you guys have been together for years and you didn't know it. That's the thing that boggles my mind. I mean,
It's funny because we fit together so well, you know.
I think we were just struggling with too many other things, like trying to get financially established. First, it was like the long distance thing for like 3.5 years. Then being broke, trying to figure out college. It's like we had other stuff to think about.
yeah.
Yeah, this is like on the back burner. Then when we finally got settled down.
Let's get back to cosplay. Chad, you had a question.
No, so back to our conversation at the beginning, you said you all only been doing this 3 years, right? About 3 years?
Barely.
And how long have you been doing it?
Officially since probably like 2015. So
3 or 4 years, 3.5 years.
too.
But you said you all started building, but what in your previous experience had let you all build? I mean,
She was a welder.
Yeah. Were you doing something beforehand that
For me,
Ever seen
no.
Flashdance?
I literally just.
you just started?
I literally just said, okay, I'm going to do this, and then just started literally trial and error.
Really?
Way more error.
Yeah,
All
all the
error.
I've got pictures of where pieces I have failed at building. I mean, horribly failed.
And it's important that we talk about that because, like, I don't know, 80% of cosplay is creative learning experiences.
Well,
Also known as, I screwed this up and
That
can't
sounds
fix
like
it.
life. Though.
well,
Cosplay
Isn't
college
life
tuition.
creative
Yeah.
learning experiences?
my motto is, when it comes to cosplay, to new people, is fail.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. Just fail. Because I've lost count of how many times I'm like, I'm going to build this set. I'm going to do this. Halfway through it, I'm like, oh God, I've screwed this up beyond repair. Screw it. I'm done. And go on to something else.
And you have to be okay with moving on.
Oh God.
Because sometimes you can't. Or you just revisit it later. You're like, well, I did this and it's crappy. So
Oh,
2
I
years down the road when you like have the skills to do it, you're like, I'm redoing this. It's gonna
Oh
be
my
fun."
God, my first set, I still have pictures of my first set. It was so atrocious.
What was it?
Yeah.
It was from World of Warcraft. It was an armor set for a monk outfit.
Uh-huh.
But the weapons I used for the prop weapons were these big, in the game, it's like big giant bear claws. I
Oh, yeah,
built
yeah.
big giant bear claws out of like
Out
pillow
of the
fluff.
wood and stuff.
No, pillow fluff.
Ah.
They look like big fur paws, and they even had like the little claws on them sticking out. I've got pictures of it on my Instagram, and it was comical looking because I got so many bear puns. So many
More
bear
than
puns.
me?
I was like joking
More
some
than
on a
you.
daily
More
basis.
than you.
Let me tell you a story.
All the
No,
bears.
Keep going. All the bears and all the cubs.
But it was just comical because I mean, it was just
One more some bitch calls me boo boo.
it was just crap.
Oh,
It
yeah,
was just literally crap I threw together, like because we had less than 2 weeks to get these sets built, And I was like, our first ever competition, trying to compete. First ever con, first time being presenting as female. So I was just like, I had all this on me all of a sudden.
You can say shit, it's fine.
Yeah. And so, I mean, looking back now, I'm looking at it like, oh dear God, I actually went out in public dressed like that. Oh dear God, it looks horrible.
But you had fun, didn't you?
Oh, I had a blast. And even to this day, I can still look at a lot of my props I build, like some of these I've got here, and I can show you, like, okay, I see seams I've screwed up on. I see things I've messed up on. But to anybody else, they're like, oh, that's cool.
There's something
as soon as you brought that in, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, it looks great.
I don't see any flaws with that.
Oh, I see flaws left and right on it. And I'm just like,
that's the problem with cosplayers. Like, we see so many flaws. But there's the rule of 3 feet that we talk about in cosplay. If someone is 3 feet away from you and can't see it, stop and relax.
Oh.
Nobody else can see it.
That's the same
do that.
It's
It's
the
totally
same
not
rule,
there.
and no shit for people who do drywall. I'm not making that up. That sounds like a joke. It's not.
I can see how that would work.
It's yeah. I actually had a guy who did drywall go, yeah, fuck it if you can't see it from 3 feet. He was doing my drywall.
I'm one of these. I'm kind of a perfectionist when I try to build, even though nothing ever becomes perfect, sadly. But I just try. I focus so much on building.
So let's go through a couple of your old props here, if you don't mind. So what do we got over here?
The giant demon-looking skull.
Okay, is it based on something specific that
Yes,
I don't
it is.
know? Okay, go ahead.
It's actually a headstock for a staff that I fully built that I can actually take apart to travel with. Of a set I'm currently working on for one of the summer cons. It's from a video game called Code of Princess.
Okay.
The character is a necromancer that's literally, it's a half-naked necromancer named Lady Zozo.
Why would you have any other kind?
Exactly, right?
I mean,
Unless it's Christopher Lee, in which case put his clothes on and bring his ass from the dead.
But it's going to be comical seeing me in a full-body suit,
yeah.
half-naked. First time ever doing that, because I'm always like full big armor sets. This is going to be a whole different world for me. And I'm having to do Warbler, EVA foam, PVC pipe building, and I also do puppetry because one of the props I'm building is a whole arm piece.
Mm-hmm.
That's all foam that's movable. And it's going, which I didn't bring, which I should have, but
That's okay.
it's on my Instagram.
Yeah.
The video of it, me moving the creepy little, the claw, as I call it.
So what about the guitar?
I built it, but I'll let
Yeah,
Chrissy
Chrissy,
explain it, because that's her big thing.
But real quick before you do, did you just call it a guitar?
A guitar.
A guitar.
Okay, just want to
Yeah.
make sure that we.
I am from southeastern Kentucky, and it does come out
So
sometimes.
please talk to us about your guitar.
I don't want to hear anything from you. What would James call you? A Fed suck dewberry.
Yeah.
You dandy-faced apple john. Sorry. Now that we're done quoting things from the 50s, please continue.
It's the Sun Lute of the Phoenix King. It's available on what's called the Black Market in World of Warcraft. The Black Market has random, really rare items, and people for the 24 hours can bid. And I was actually able to get one when I was super rich. In the game, I used to sell bikini armor and vanity armor, and I knew how to gather when other people didn't. So I got a lot of money. This guitar pops up. I had a gold armor set. I'm like, I need this, and I got it. So later on, when we got involved in cosplay, we're like, why don't we try to make it in real life? And the original bass, you can kind of see it. It was
It's a flying
a
bee
kid's
then.
guitar.
For our people who are listening, a little bit more description, if you don't mind. It is so it's
It's originally a flying V guitar
Yeah,
bass
right.
body of a children's guitar.
right.
And literally we took EVA foam to make the wings, and then we coated it in what's called Warbler, which is a thermoplastic
Mm-hmm.
that heats up and
Mm-hmm.
you can mold it and everything. And that's how we mold this to give it this
And
hard shape.
wood glue to harden it so
Yeah.
it wouldn't bend or anything.
Then painted it, and I made it to where it's actually still playable. You can hook it up to
That's what I was about
Which
to
is
ask.
so awesome.
You can
Oh,
still
God,
you can
it's out
just
of tune. I
you can
do that.
still play. Do either one of you play?
I do.
She
Okay.
can.
So for a future episode, we just need to have them come on and
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
play.
Oh God.
do your scanner. Sorry.
Free bird.
There you go.
Like every other a-hole.
Oh God.
Well, there's a picture of you on stage holding this, right?
Up
Yeah.
at BlizzCon,
Yeah,
yes.
At BlizzCon?
2017. That's the
Yep.
only
Creeper.
good photo of me.
I did research.
That's what they all, by being creepers, say. I wasn't doing that, officer. I was researching her.
Researching, man.
Researching outside in this bush at night.
Yeah, it is how you research forgeries. Forgeries.
That-
Good
that-
Lord.
Oh, stop it, good joke.
That was a crazy time because my costume at that competition broke. And so I'm walking out there like a badass trying to hold the costume together.
Aw,
It was nobody knew.
that's
Chrissy
awesome.
knew that the shoulder piece broke, so I'm holding it with my
I was trying
prop.
to go like,
Yeah, so I'm holding it with my prop. I just walk out looking like I'm a badass. That's what people
awesome.
want. But in reality, I'm like, if I move, it's going to fall and break in front of 20,000 plus people. Oh shit!
it
So-
turned out the first person who went on the floor had something break anyway, so
Yeah.
we didn't know.
So do you guys make props for people? Do you sell them? Do you do any of that?
No, I do all our prop work. She does mostly like a lot of the armor building, like the skimpy,
armor.
the skimpy thin
Mhm.
armor. I do the heavier, bulkier stuff, and I do a lot of the prop work.
Do
Okay.
sewing.
And she does a lot of the sewing. I can't. Literally, me and a sewing machine is fire. Brr.
Yeah, my sewing machine is a glorified
Paperweight.
paperweight. Yeah,
You don't
like
sew?
Did you have a previous background? Because you said you make dragons.
I do, but I hand sew everything. Like I can't use a sewing machine
Okay,
to save
but
my
before
life.
we move on to that, so if somebody, were you being serious though about stuff for sale earlier?
No.
No.
No,
Not
no,
at this
no,
point.
no, no.
All right,
This
so
is sentimental. So
as we go through, where would they find you? Would you want them to follow you on Instagram, Facebook, where?
Instagram.
Instagram. So what are your two Instagram accounts?
you say you'll
Mine is ChryssiRose, but it's spelled ChryssI Rose.
Okay, got it.
and then
I can't spell.
my Instagram name is literally the same as my actual real name, which is AyaLynn Moore, AyaLynnMore.
Right. So okay. All right. Now, you, Jen, were talking about having an actual booth at Comic-Con, and Comic-Con's coming up.
Yeah, it really is. My side hustle is I make hand sewn dragons. They're about this big for my big one, and my little one's about this big. And I do them in comic book themes. So I have Harry Potter dragons. I have a Pikachu dragon, if Pikachu was a dragon, because Pikachu should totally be a dragon. I like dragons, okay.
I'm picking up where you're laying down.
Deadpool, my dead dragon, is one of my best sellers. I had a really neat opportunity at Frankfurt Con last year to meet one of the co-creators of Deadpool and Domino, Fabian Nishi, and I gave him one of my little dead dragons that he travels with now, which was like,
Cool.
made my life.
So you got the pictures of him traveling with it?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Do you have a booster gold dragon?
I do not, but you are not the first person to ask about that. The
Seriously?
only limitation I have with dragons is, since I hand sew everything, if it's like a Spider-Man emblem, I'm not doing it because I ain't got the embroidery skills for that, and I'm not using a machine.
I can't
Because
believe you
as
hand
we've
sew all
discussed, I can't
Yeah.
use sewing machines.
So the Booster Gold thing harkens
geez.
back to
Slap me
several
in the
different
face.
episodes of a couple of friends of ours who are artists, local artists, Bryce O'Quay, Ken Kirk. Hey, they have Warden's Watch coming out. Pick that up. Ken Kirk did a Bonehead logo, right? That's all
Badass.
original. Anyway, they got into a knockdown drag out about how shitty Booster Gold was as he was defending them on a previous episode
He's
last
one of my
year.
favorites, and obvious, and based on
And
previous
if you don't know
comments,
anything about comic books, I didn't either. Booster Gold is apparently a shitty comic book character.
no, he
Yeah,
is not.
but
He is
there's so many
amazing.
people that
if you
love
talk
him.
anime and video games, I'm right there. I can.
Another one of
I
my
didn't
favorite
know
comic
either.
based on a
I didn't
previous
know either.
comment. One of my favorite comic book characters is also called the Creeper.
There you go.
Which is why he's LARPing.
There's one in every crowd.
Oh God, LARPing.
You are LARPing. He's LARPing. Anyway.
Creeper has more hair.
So do you just do Comic-Con when you're selling your stuff, or do you do a lot of different
I
cons?
do a
Because I don't
lot.
remember you set up at Frankfurt Con.
I
table.
sold a few dragons, not very many.
Okay.
Usually, like if I'm a cosplay guest, I focus on cosplay. If I am cosplaying, it's actually cheaper for me to buy a table and get the 2 passes that come with the table and possibly be able to make my money back than it is for me to just
That I
passes.
completely understand.
So it's kind of my hustle so I can get into more conventions because I have the opportunity to make the money back. So it makes cosplay a lot more affordable for me because I can afford to travel and do stuff like that.
Yeah. So how much do you think you've spent? What's your most expensive costume? What's your most expensive? I'll do it this way. Each one of you tell me why. This is a good
Then
story.
give me a minute to think.
What's your most expensive? First of all, what's your most expensive costume? And then I have a couple of follow-ups to that.
Oh,
Go.
God.
I gotta think.
Go.
Skip me.
Oh,
Come on,
like
Chrissy.
glorious.
Answer the question.
Like
I'm
it's
sorry.
my World of Warcraft glorious plate armor set, the gold set that goes with this, so the whole costume. The armor was like an estimate because it was a lot of trial and error, so the stuff that didn't work counted toward the cost. The guitar was $450, and the outfit itself was $300 with all the attempts, so it was $750.
Wow.
It does not look like $750 though.
You'd be surprised. Oh God,
Wow.
that's a difficult one because a lot of my sets are expensive just to begin with because of my size. I'm a little bit on the bigger side.
You're dainty.
I would say probably my most expensive set would be my Warcraft Rogue set with the 2 big dread blades I carry around with that thing. Just because that was my first real attempt at a real big set, and so there was so much trial and error. I literally did 3 attempts on the props alone to get them right, to get them actually sized correctly and all this, and the armor set too, because it was so much work doing the LED lighting in the shoulder pieces that I went through 4 different attempts on it.
Okay.
Wow.
And so you're talking about, it was probably about $700, $800.
Yeah, I don't spend that much on cosplay. But I
Just
also
for
don't.
cocaine.
I don't do armor.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
guys do a whole lot of
Throwing it out
armor,
there
and
for
the
you.
material for armor is really expensive.
It's not that it was really that bad. It's like we went to like Kentucky Con, then all of a sudden we're like, we want to go all out. You know, what was it, August 2016 for Kentucky Con, and then like LexCon passed, and did we go? No, we didn't go that year.
We didn't go that year. We went to
And then we're like, we want to go to BlizzCon. Like, we wanted to jump head first
You wanted
into
to
the
go all the
hardest
way,
thing possible.
man.
That was
We
a bad
went-
idea.
we went from like local little thing to like major like world competition
We
in
were
like
not
one
ready.
jump.
Like the dream convention.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
like one, in just within the same year, and we pulled it off. I mean, we failed miserably, but we pulled it off.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like,
It's okay.
That's impressive within a 3-year span.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like I stair step.
Yeah.
I do not have the balls to go like all the way to the wall.
oh, I'm 0 to 100.
I'm redoing my Killer Frost. And that one.
I was going to ask
when
if
it's
that
all
was
said
Killer
and done.
Frost. I thought it was.
Yeah.
Because that was an amazing Killer Frost.
Well,
by the
thank
way.
you so
You're very
much.
welcome.
So I ended up having to custom make a bodysuit because I have a really long torso. Anyway, if you try to buy bodysuits, like do some measurements before you do that. I'm just saying, like it's a
I
major
know,
problem.
I did it once.
Yeah.
Preaching to the choir.
Side conversation. Are you upset with what the Flash has done to the Killer Frost, the TV show?
Yes.
What's
Okay.
the Killer Frost?
She's one of the most
She's
amazing
a
villains
villain.
in DC comic history.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's badass. She's got like all this ice magic stuff.
Yeah.
So I really like Killer Frost, but that one was probably I'm upgrading it now, so I think by the time I'm done, it'll be between 200 and 250. But like I said again, I don't do much of the Armo stuff, so a lot of mine is just I buy because I don't have sewing machine skills either. I buy most of my cosplay and alter it, as
Okay.
opposed to other people who do it from scratch, and from scratch costs and takes way more time. But I don't have those skills, so instead I just kind of modify my way
Yeah.
to the top.
Yeah, time, like that skull right there, that was probably about a good, I want to say probably about a good almost 2 months to build. And you're talking like hour-wise, probably about almost 100 hours. Just that skull piece.
So, starting one more time, what are you most proud of? Right.
My most,
Yeah.
my favorite set or what I'm
Well,
most
what
proud
are you
of?
most proud of? Because I mean, they could be the same, but I can think about stuff that I've done that I don't know that's my favorite, but I was proud of whatever it took to get there. Does that make sense?
My
Yeah.
proudest would be my first major props I built was what's called the Dread Blades from World of Warcraft, which was these big two like pirate cutlass swords. They're really elaborate. I built those from scratch. Like I said, that was part of that Rogue set. And the fact that I actually had them showcased at BlizzCon at one of the big major
That's
world
amazing.
competitions was like, went out on stage. That was probably my most proudest I've done right there to date.
There is one thing to say. The year we went, for BlizzCon. You didn't have to really submit pictures. Like we kind of started on our stuff. It took us months.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to submit pictures. You just had to say, I was going to be this thing. There wasn't really a selection process like you had to be good. You just had to say, I'm going to show up. And then the first whatever 100 people who signed up, and then there were some on wait lists, were picked. That was it. Like anybody could have gone up there. I think people just don't have the confidence to try, or at least didn't invest in it.
Right.
That's why you didn't see that many, cheaper looking costumes. Like ours were cheaper because
We were just learning.
people are just too scared to try. You're going to be
for
seen
sure.
by, I don't know, tens of thousands of people because they broadcast it. They're afraid. It's like, just go do it. If you're going to be on the stage for like 5 minutes and then you're going to be off. It's over quick.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to try.
And that's something like I don't compete. I've competed once and I'm not doing it again. I did that more or less as a favor.
Does it take the fun out of it?
For me, yes, because I'm extremely perfectionistic, and one of the issues with being bipolar is I fixate on things.
Mm-hmm.
And in a competition setting where people are going to pick your stuff apart, I don't need any help doing that. I'm really good at it.
Right.
And it just kind of sucks the joy out of everything for me. So competing isn't really something I do. I go more for the community and for my pure fans, more or less.
Okay.
So I kind of come at it from a little bit of a different angle.
Yeah, it's
Like
the opposite of me.
competition is way too stressful for me. Like I have a really stressful job in real life. Like I don't need
I don't
that
know that
level
I
of
need the
stress.
competition. Yeah, either. I kind of get that.
I'm the complete opposite.
I'm sorry. I thought you were going to ask a question. So as we're ending this show, what were some of your notes you wanted to go over? I'm curious.
I was just, this is the Lexington general area, so I wanted to tell you all a little bit about some of the upcoming conventions in the area.
LexCon.
Yep. Lexington Comic and Toy Convention is March 21st through 24th. If you're not familiar with it, May 4th is Free Comic Book Day. So if you like comics or free stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I like both. You should check out your local comic book stores because everybody has a huge list of free comic books. And pretty much everybody runs sales. But I'll be at Heroes Realm, which is one of our local comic book stores, with 2 other artists, and we'll be selling our wares and hanging out with
Who are
people.
the other 2 artists?
Josh Hart of Heart Art and Ashley Marsh, who is Wicket0118. Yes, I got that right. Sorry, I had to look at it in my head for a second.
How do you remember that?
I don't know. I probably typed it into Instagram entirely too many times.
And Hero Realm's off of New Circle Road.
It's off of New Circle
right next
Road.
to the gaudy green and yellow.
Yes,
flag.
I know exactly where you're talking about, where White Castle is.
Yep.
Yes.
In the neon stores, like
Yes.
it's awesome. Last year they had a role play group outside that was like teaching people how to play fight all day. I mean, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And all the kids come in costumes and stuff. We have a blast. Y'all should come check it out. I'm trying to think about other things around
Are you
here.
having a costume contest this year? I heard about it last year.
Yes, there should be a costume contest at Heroes Realm this year. I don't have any details on that, but I know that it's going to happen. Y'all should come hang out with me.
You could be a judge.
We can judge
You know,
people.
I judge
There you
people.
go.
I've watched the 2 of them judge
I know.
harshly.
I've yet to do judging yet. I guess because I'm just
And
so
Joe can come in
hell-bent
his
on-
Winona Judd cosplay.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh my god!
That would be amazing.
I almost started singing. Why not me? Yeah.
And then the other
I
big
knew
one,
a Judd
actually-
song. I knew a Judd song. That's the only one I know.
I mean, at least you got one.
Why not
That's
me,
not
right?
bad.
I don't know. I
think
don't
you
know
guys
any
have
Judd
one in
songs.
Frankfurt,
You
right?
lying sack
Yes.
of shit.
I really don't.
We always go to Frankfurt Con. That's kind of
Always.
given.
So
I haven't heard back if they want me back to moderate for Frankfurt.
I
Con.
haven't heard if they want me to judge
message
again.
them. Message
Oh,
them.
I sent
Message 'em.
Mr. a email.
There you go.
Mr.
Send him another one.
I'm just a pretty face there, so.
And it's funny because he had a conversation about how much he found me funny and how great, although he didn't show. We only talked like once, and then no, I hadn't heard anything back, and I thought, anyway, so we'll talk about it off
Some
air.
people are a little communicationally challenged, but
If they own a
Frankfurt's summer
con, they do.
convention is July 13th, and hopefully we'll all be there.
Which one is July 13th?
Planning on
I didn't.
Frankfurt Summer Convention. They did one in January, so now they're doing
I
another
had
one
fun
in the
in
middle of summer.
January. Chad and I did a panel before your panel. We
What
did
was
one
y'all's? I missed it.
Podcasting.
podcasting.
Yes.
But here's
Yes.
funny: no one showed up except two people.
Yeah.
Aw.
But the second guy was waiting for the wrestling.
Yes, because I did 2 wrestling panels. And by the way, God bless them. Once again, I don't know anything about wrestling,
I don't either.
but I actually had a good time. The person who showed up for our panel drove just for our panel.
See, that's kind of awesome.
It was until we started talking and realized, no, it wasn't she was a fan of Bonehead. She just drove out of her way because it was about podcasting and she wanted to start her own.
She
It's
about,
important to
she
have
about
some.
froze to death at that con.
Yeah,
I
it's
bet you
freaking
did.
freezing.
It was snowing.
And you wore like nothing.
And I had the big fur poncho on, so I was just like, I'm so warm that I'm like, I'm dying.
And everybody else is like, I hate you all. Like, I actually asked the internet what to wear to the January one because I like to kind of
Get feedback?
Get the feedback, and they picked one of my skimpier costumes, and I was sad because I
Poison
had one
ivy,
that was
right?
like,
Poison ivy.
yeah, it was Poison Ivy, but
You're
I
Poison
had
Ivy
a
and I
glitch.
don't. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I have a glitch that's like a sweatshirt and like tights, and I was really like hell bent on wearing that, and then everybody was like,
You
"Wear
need to
the
tell
other
us so
one."
that we push the voting in the direction you want.
That's true.
No,
That's
you
true.
don't.
She's
You don't
always-
need to tell me that.
She's
because I
always
will-
about the skimpy cosplays, and I'm always about the crazy props, so.
I
Yeah.
understand. Now, if I would
Mine
push
is
the voting
wigs.
totally to the opposite of whatever she wanted.
Just because.
See, I'm no good with wigs, and yet I've won a wig award. And yet I'm terrible
You
with
dyed
wigs.
a wig.
Dude, I love wigs though. They're so much
Yeah.
fun.
But I'm so terrible with wigs. That's my weak point is wigs. Yet I won a wig award. I
You
don't
dyed
understand.
a wig. You put
Well,
like
it
gold
was a
things on it.
half-ass attempt.
After
Well,
you
it
get
was a small
done, after Chrissy and I get done fighting, why don't you tell us what cons you'll be at as well?
Oh God, too damn many.
Okay, can I steal your list?
Yep,
to
steal my
see the
list.
ones that you. Okay, you already said Lexington.
So you got
Said
everybody's
Frankfurt.
going to be at LexCon, right?
Well,
Yes.
yeah.
I'll
all
be
4
there.
days.
I'm not for sure when this episode comes out because it's not been announced, so I'll just be quiet.
Yeah, good job.
So let me think. Wait, you have the. It's on
I
your
have
phone.
the
Never mind.
list.
Take it
Hold
back.
on, hold
'Cause
on.
mine's
While
very
they're
truncated.
looking that
Right there,
up,
found it.
did you miss anything after Frankfurt Con?
Oh, a few.
There's a couple that are here local. There is Comic Surge, which is in Nicholasville. It's usually in October. And then there's a big charity event called Via Culari in Louisville, which raises money for the foster care system. So
Oh.
it's a really neat kind of outdoor venue. They've got live music, but they also have a huge cosplay area. They have a bunch of different cosplayers contracted to come in so that your kids can take photos. They had a bunch of rescue dogs last year.
Mhm.
So we all tried to take as many photos as possible in costume with rescue dogs because it was fantastic. But it's a great way to give back, and it's kind of a little bit different if you've never been to like an outdoor convention. It's kind of like a hybrid music festival thing. So y'all want to check that out.
Yeah, I've never done an outdoor convention. Oh, that'd be new. That would be new to me.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of fun.
The sun is my enemy.
You preach to the choir. I burst into flames.
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, but are you 50% Morlock?
No, Irish.
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
Potato,
Same thing.
potato.
So we're
And we just pissed off a country.
Yay!
Yay!
So we have LexCon
Yeah.
in Lexington in March. In April, Star City Con in Prestonburg, which is near Pikeville.
How big is that one?
It's a new one. I think.
Tiny. It's
Yeah,
like
it's brand new. Isn't
yeah,
it?
it's brand new. I think it's like $5 to get in.
everyone
Conglomeration in Louisville.
Yes.
May, Anime Central in Chicago, Illinois. June, OMG Con in Owensboro, Saturday only. What else we got? June 29th, Anime Ohio in Cincinnati, Ohio. Then we got Frankfurt Con. Pikeville Comic Con, we don't know Friday or Saturday. In August, Kentokyo Con is also in July.
Which
Are we
is in
doing all 3
Lexington.
days?
Yeah, we're gonna do all 3 days, which is in Lexington at.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
at
bro.
Rupp.
Yep. It's
Matt,
a
check
good one.
that out.
Really?
Yep, it's a good
And that
one.
would be the Rupp Arena.
Yeah.
But for our locals, is real.
Really?
Just real.
You gotta say it like this.
Matsuri Con in Columbus, Ohio, August 17th. A lot of these we're just doing Saturday because we drive in, hang out for a few hours depending how far it is, and leave. Cincy Comic Expo. Are we doing all 3 days?
Far as I know, we should
Maybe
be.
just Saturday, Sunday.
Well, depends.
Scarefest, I will be working with an author. I don't know if I can give details. I'm going to be a character from his book.
That's awesome.
So I'm not getting paid for it, but he's paying for the costume and for me to get it. So
That's great.
totally
I will
worth it.
also be at Scarefest.
As will I.
We're already booked.
Oh.
Scarefest is basically our second family. They gave me my first moderating
awesome.
gig.
I'll
I hope
probably
you
just be
guys
dressed
have
as God
fun.
knows what. So
Well, I've been to all of them.
That's so cool.
The only ones I haven't been able to has been because of wedding obligations.
I was gonna say
I've been to all the Comic Cons too, but
I'm skipping
okay, let's
Scarefest.
see. We
this
still got
year.
a few more here.
Yeah, we're going to Comic Search. Hopefully, if it there's a photographer that wants to work with me in West Virginia, so we're going to SubasaCon in October. We might do Comic Search if it doesn't clash, and then the Via Colori if it doesn't clash with that because they don't have dates either, and then SuperCon in November.
Yes, everybody's doing SuperCon. If you guys haven't been, this is a second year con. It's absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best ones
I
I've
got
ever
to
been
meet
to.
one of my biggest idols there, Alice Cooper.
Where is SuperCon?
it's
Louisville.
It's a gym city that they bought, or gym whatever that they bought from Jared.
Okay.
They're the people out of Florida, right?
They're out of Florida, but they have more programming than I've ever seen in my entire life. And it was awesome because there was something to do all the freaking time.
I heard they did a really good job.
Oh,
It's just a slight sore subject for me.
Oh.
Because of the con that shall not be named, or why?
No. We had some back and forth negotiations, and they decided to go another way.
Oh,
So I
I'm
just
sorry.
didn't go. That's okay. I've been
Okay.
turned down by lots of people.
It's fun though.
So do you? We'll ask you a question.
Yeah.
So, do you apply to cons like with panels, or what do you do?
Yeah, you can. You reach out because it's like anything else. You got to put yourself out there. So what happened was the short version of it is that I knew Patty Starr, who used to own Scarefest, but that's not how I got into Scarefest. There was a guy in a class that I taught years ago who's like, yeah, I know this dude who's really into movies and he's good at public speaking. He taught my public speaking class. You guys should really get him for that. And then I knew somebody who accidentally knew my wife. I mean, it was so convoluted how it actually happened that it should have been much simpler. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that led to that led to Comic-Con, which was my first panel, was with Karen Gillan, and they didn't have any, which I wasn't even scheduled to do. They just didn't have anybody. I was going to do a smaller panel because Jared didn't know me.
Hey, that's always
And
fun.
then I just happened to be there, and the agent was freaking out that they didn't have anybody up there with Karen Gillan, and she was, and it was great that I did it because I'm not a huge Doctor Who fan, so I wasn't by any way
That's awesome.
stretch of the imagination just killed over by her like a lot of people were, which is what you never want to do, right? You do not want to be a little weird.
No,
And
you
so
can
she and I
totally
were-
be a little weird.
You
You
can
can't
be
just
a
not
little
be like
weird,
classy
But
weird.
she's in a couple of horror films that I knew, and she's a huge Stanley Kubrick fan, and that's what we started talking about. So we hit it off fine. It wasn't anything to do with Doctor Who. I mean, they let the audience do that. So that's kind of how it happened. So I really enjoy it. LexCon is, of course, my biggest one. I love doing it. I love working with the Greers. Chad and I both do Scarefest almost every year. Chad's my pillow. So I feel
Aw.
safe and comfortable. Yeah. But Scarefest is, LexCon's my
The pillow being I
biggest one.
smother him.
Oh my!
But Scarefest is family. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got.
Did I answer your question? I was very long-winded of how you get to do it. There's always people who are wanting the job. I hear from them often. But they've not went another way.
And then when they do, Joe eats them.
That's why there's none of them to talk about it.
I used to be really thin.
At birth?
No, we're not pounds. I was huge. You mean bald son of a bitch.
But yeah, we've got a lot of cons we're doing this
You
year.
guys are too busy.
Yeah, you guys
No.
are way.
Yeah, midway through, I was ready to take a nap.
In fact,
this
I
is
hadn't
like-
heard back to. In fact, I was doing my schedule the other day. And I was thinking about it, and I hadn't heard back from Frankfurt Con, and I just went ahead and bought Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson tickets for that
There
night.
you go.
So if he wants me, I've got to figure out. Well, I might be able to do it. I just got to get out of there by 4 to make my way to River.
Oh, I think you could do that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's totally feasible. Yeah, this year I definitely had to cut back on cons because I kind of got overwhelmed last year. Because now I'm doing the cosplay guesting thing and vending and just generally cosplaying.
How did you get in the
It's kind of a lot.
cosplay guesting?
I asked.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
to be really
but
honest.
isn't it true?
Yeah.
Don't you all think? And most of the time, for most of these, like you were asking, it's odd.
Well,
When I talk to students, like, how do you succeed? Well, 50% of the time, if you show up, you'll beat 50% of your competition.
Well, and I just
build and then I just go.
I think that's how we got. I got to judge for Frankfurt Con because we showed up with our Warcraft costumes. Like mine was version 2 of my armor set, an elf version instead of a Draenei, which has body paint. It's just I don't want to deal with that.
Oh god, yeah, I don't even talk about that. That was.
And it was like. It was
4
like
hours of my life there, just
a month after
hating her ass.
I'm not going to say a word.
I mean, literally, that's what it was. Literally, 4 o'clock in the morning, paint her ass.
Body painting is so labor intensive.
Oh god,
Well,
especially
we're
if you don't
supposed
have.
to use a spray thing, and we didn't know that. We just got these like crappy little.
He's just hitting you with a paintbrush.
Oh god, you were sponging it.
I was
I hope
sponging
this
her
works.
ass for 4 hours, just like
gosh.
yeah, and then I
I
had
am
to do my
trying
costume
so
on
hard,
top of it.
Chad.
That's so exhausting.
So hard not to say anything really horrible and inappropriate.
Now do you see the kind of life we live?
I do. However, I feel like you guys could have made some money to pay for some costumes this way, and you could have got some sleep. Anyway, moving
Well,
right
there's a whole subgenre of that too.
I am sure there is. If you're into it, it exists.
Whatever
and
floats
it's
your
on
boat,
the
right?
internet,
Right.
Where it floats your boat, turns your top, sinks your ship, right?
Right. Or as my father would say, cranks your tractor.
Yeah.
Well,
Whatever that means.
Yeah, I mean, I've yet to ever guest or do anything. I
got asked by the Frankfurt Con like Instagram kind of like, you're gonna be at Frankfurt Con? I'm like, yeah. They're like, you want to judge? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I'd love
to
to.
work for that author, he'd been following me. Like, I have a habit of going through con hashtags and literally liking everything and following smaller cosplayers. And then a week after, this is pretty bad, I use an app to filter out who didn't follow back. That's how I've made friends. I'm like that guy on Tinder who says hi to everybody and holds on to the people who actually talk back.
love it.
I need to follow her on Instagram. I don't. It's only on
Like,
Facebook.
you totally should.
Yeah, I need to follow you guys on Instagram. Sorry.
But that's how I ended up talking to an author because he followed me after I liked his posts. And he was like, hey, do you want to be this character? And I'm like, kind of hesitant. But then he said, yeah, I'll cover the costume. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. Because that's what I was worried about, the cost.
Well, hell yeah.
So both of those times I got asked. I've never tried asking. Not yet.
Same, and I think I probably intimidate people with my building stuff.
I don't think so.
No, I think you would be a really good
You couldn't be
analyst
more
and
loud
stuff.
and obnoxious than me.
I don't know.
So you got that going for
I don't know.
you.
I've been pretty loud and obnoxious already this evening. Trust me.
No.
But hey, I've got a really bad dark sense of humor too, so.
You do the talking, I'll be the boobs.
Well, there you go. Isn't that how it's always been?
It totally works.
But who's the talking?
Yeah.
Who's the talking?
No,
Who's
he's the
boob?
talking, and I'm obviously the boob.
I was going to say you really need to work on your,
Uniboob.
but I won't. Yeah.
Like,
Well, see,
I think we
always
could like stick some stuff up there and like make that work.
Well, see, I always make the joke. I'm the pretty face, so.
I'm Kevin Nealon and
I was actually thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah,
You're Kevin
yeah.
Nealon from Little Nicky. All right, and on that, so they can follow you all on your Instagrams, your
Yes.
Facebooks, your Twitters. Am I missing anything?
Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got we've actually got cards and all this. If you need them.
Okay, cool. All right,
Yeah.
so we'll be there. We'll all be at LexCon.
Yes.
I think I do.
For you all, this
Yes.
is much more. Thank you so much. This is much more for our own just mop up. We've got a couple of announcements coming up in the next week or two that are probably, hopefully going to be pretty exciting.
Woohoo!
Thank you. Appreciate it. I know we know things have changed since Haley has left, but we think that we have. We're keeping right along. I'm trying to think of something that doesn't sound like I'm being detrimental to Haley. We love Haley.
No, yeah, we miss you, Haley.
We miss you, Haley. You
I
did
say
a
that
lot of
every
work.
episode of season 8 since she hasn't been
She has not messaged me other than ask somebody for a job.
Well,
Not her, but a friend of hers. Anyway, so follow us on Facebook, but you can also subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud,
Spotify.
and Cashbox, although I don't have all the episodes up on Cashbox. And we're going to be adding actually a couple of those more accounts on for other podcasts. My God, is it getting late?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
You're turning into a... Yes.
I'm
Pumpkin.
turning into a pumpkin? Is
Yes.
this going to be another fat joke?
No, no.
Oh, no.
Linus is waiting for you.
I am Chrissy, Jen. I can't thank you enough. This has been one of our more serious episodes, but it's been one of our most enlightening episodes. We promise never to do that again. We're so sorry to the rest of our audience, but thank you all so much. This has been an absolute privilege and pleasure. Anything else, Chad?
And our iTunes listeners love that. Just
Yeah, I know. He did nothing.
Yeah.
Ladies, anything to add?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
This was fun.
No, thank you for coming.
No, thank you.
To some weird guy's basement.
You could be. What is
I mean, I've had
At least
worse
there's not
offers,
a pit. At least there's not a pit.
right? And there's no lotion. So,
I was actually about to say.
All I can say
The hose
is you haven't
again.
looked close enough.
And with that, I'm out.
All right. You want to go turn the camera off? Thanks so much. Oh, yeah, Mick, the audio is not going to be like you like it on this episode, so suck it.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Uh-huh.